There's a myth going round town that when you get older you just sit down and start rocking, just rocking. In a way that's true if you know what I mean. Just take a look at the senior scene. Well, it's rocking. Yeah, it's rocking. We're pulling our weight, learning the code, clicking our heels, sharing the load, and every so often we're hitting the road. Yeah, we're rocking.
Greetings and welcome to In Praise of Age. We have with us one of the beloved figures in Chapel Hill and in fact the world, Mildred Council, better known as Mama Dip. Mama Dip, thank you very much for coming. And may I call you Mildred?
All right, that's
good.
Right. Okay.
Mildred, you grew up in Chatham County, is that right?
Grew up in Chatham County. We moved up here when I was almost 17. Yeah.
People are always interested how you got your name. Would you tell us how Mama Dip came about being what you're called?
Yeah, for Dip part of it is my nickname, my childhood nickname, and I got that from we sought barrels. My father sought barrels on the side how we caught the water to wash with, and so I could dip it out and fill it for them to fill up the pots and to wash the thing. Because at that time we were kind of washing outside. You know, we had the big bench, and then we heat the water up in a big back pot and
boil the clothes.
Yeah, and so they started calling me Dip. Come and dip this out and dip this. And so when I opened the restaurant, it was a Dip's Country Kitchen. And then when I put it in corporation, wasn't nobody working there but my children, myself. And so they would say Mama, where somebody might have called somebody else Mrs. Council, you know. Our customers said Mama, and I just thought, I said, when I get there, I said, I named the business Mama Dip, because everybody was calling me Mama, and then I said, well, I just named it Mama Dip. My friends out there calling me Dip, and my customers coming in and said, hey there, Mama Dip, said Mama Dip. I think they thought that was my last name.
Maybe.
But they were my children calling me Mama.
And you're about 6'2", right? So that's the height that you could get into the rain barrels.
I could get it there and jump up on it. It was something that I love to do, you know. I always was the water girl when we went to the fields. I took the water, you know, for them to drink, you know. And when we had our corn shuckings and our wheat thrashings and things like that, I would coat water out of the spring. So I was a dipper.
And you were on a farm, and I bet you didn't have electricity and running water and all those things.
No.
Tell us a little bit about what it was like when you were growing up.
You know, it wasn't hard. Only thing about it back then was didn't nobody have electricity, didn't nobody have running water, so it doesn't seem as hard if somebody's out of something like that now, because it's different. Some have it and some don't, but back there everybody was on the same scale. You know?
So I bet you raised all your food.
All of the food.
Vegetables and the chickens and the cows and all that.
Yeah, all of it.
Churned your own butter?
Yeah, churned our own butter. Yes, we did.
And that's where you learned to cook the way you marvelously as you do today.
I think one of the things I started, I always from a little girl played with my dolls. I made dolls out of all the balls. I dressed them up with corn shucks and the little flowers you see in the warm. And I would put things in the hair and corn silks, and I just I guess me and my brother Jim we had to be in church because my father was a steward in church, and he was in church about all the time, like on Sunday and then sometime other time, and so we would kind of make our fun. We'd have fun, so I would cook and I would sing to my dolls and. He would kind of call himself preaching, so we had a lot of fun out there with our dogs and things. Yeah, we made a lot of things to make ourselves happy with, you know. And so when people started cooking early back there, you know, I don't think it was nothing unusual for. I went farther than a lot of the young people, 9 years old, were cooking. You know, they might have got up and put some beans on or something like that, but he just let's say you go home and fix food for for dinner. You know, we were calling 12 o'clock meal dinner. You know, and so I went home and cooked. And I was 9 years old. You know, and so
You must have needed to stand on a chair to reach the stove.
no, I didn't. I was tall.
You were tall then. Okay.
I was tall. No, I didn't have to stand in a chair, and so we had the wood stove, and it had been kind of wet, you know, and the chips, you know, you do chips and lighter, and they was kind of wet, and so I went there to the wood pile to get them and there was I had a hard time starting a fire. That was the biggest thing was, and so I blowed and I blowed and I struck up all the matches and I blowed, and so what happened is I got dizzy. I got like drunk, you know, and so but the fire went and sat down. When I went and sat down, come back, the fire was burning, you know, in the stove. But then I didn't know until I started working at my mower what happened to me, and that was like many years later, you know. And they said, well, you done blowed all of the oxygen out of your lungs, so that's what I done. It was so funny to think about it now, you know. You just blow it and blow it, and wouldn't think this about it. I was the happiest day of my life because I really wanted to cook, you know, because you know going to the corn shucking around and where he was taking us, he was at every one of them, you know, and so it was just you just smell that food, and them women would be laughing and talking and that's what we do now at Mama Dib's. I think there's a lot of joy in the kitchen more than people think. They say it's hard work, but when you get your hands in it and get to laughing and talking and doing things like that, you forget about the work that you're doing, the hardness of the work, and so then you get used to it also, you know.
And food is so important to all of us.
That's right. That's true.
It's at every occasion.
That's right.
Celebration, sadness,
That's
and so
true.
forth.
It is.
And you had 6 or 7 siblings.
Yeah. It was 6. I'm the 7th one. It was 7 of us in all. And I wasn't 2 when Mama died.
You were 2.
I wasn't 2. I've been 2. She died in March, and I'd been 2 in April. And so this was one of her vows, was to keep us together, you know, because so this is what he planned to do, you know. He never had another woman in the house to spend the night, and because he just felt like you know, he could do it, and he could let us do, and that's what it was all about, letting us do. All of us was cooks except one, and my brother Wilson, he was a mechanic. He could, yeah.
And so your older siblings took care of you as the 2-year-old.
Yes.
Made sure you were all
yes,
right.
Yeah.
That took a lot of mothering on the part. How old were they? Maybe 14, 15?
Bernice is 10 years older than I am, so she was like 12.
12.
She'd have been 12 in April, because her birthday was in April too.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, the schools were segregated at the time
Yeah.
that you were growing up, and tell us what that was like.
You know, they had to take me to school with them. Bernice and Petey and them, they had to take me to school with them. The school went just to the 8th grade, and so they took me to school. I can remember my first time that Miss Smith gave me a book. You know, I was 4 years old. You know. And I can already remember the book, and so she was teaching me how to read. And I know it said "See Johnny run" and "See Jack run." I can't remember whether Jack was the dog or Johnny was the you know. I know that what the book was about. You know. Later, things Bernice the crops, the boll weevils and thing got kind of bad, and Bernice and them had finished school. And so she come to Chapel Hill, you know, and she lived on a lot down on Franklin Street there, you know.
So could she go to high school in Chapel Hill when she came?
Petey did. My sister Petey went to, her name was Marie, but we call her Petey. She went to high school in Chapel Hill, yeah.
And that was the old Lincoln School?
No, that was Northside Training School.
Northside.
Yeah. It was called a training school then, That's where she went, yeah. Yeah.
So Chatham County at that time did not have a high school for blacks.
No, they didn't have a high school for blacks. They didn't have a bus for black. What I say, I think they built the high school in 1935, 36. I think they built the school, but they still didn't have a bus to transport the the people to that high school from this area, from the northern part of Chatham. Yeah.
And that was several miles, so you would have had to have transportation.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, about 8 miles there. You had to have transportation. Yeah.
My, how things have changed. Good.
Yes, things
Fortunately.
have changed. Yeah.
That's. I mean, and people like you still remembering it. That's amazing.
Yeah, my brother. I can remember my brother Wilson and my first cousin Laura Pendergrass and Walker Perry. Papa went to Pittsburgh and found somebody for them to room with. Because when you finish the 8th grade, if you go to another school, it was just like you leave going to college. The kids now leave going to college. They had to pay for you to stay with somebody. And so Wilson and Walker stayed with Professor Lee, and Laura stayed with Caroline Cotton, And so that way they, was at the school.
And did you come to Chapel Hill to high school too?
No. By the time, I had, the bus was going then, so I could go to Howard.
So they started the bus in the 40s.
Yeah, I went to Howard.
So you were able to go all the way through high school in the schools.
Yeah,
there were 11 grades in North Carolina at that time, right?
They had put on the 12th grade just the year after my brother graduated. They put on the 12th grade, and that was probably in like 40, in the early 40, 41, because he went in the Army, and I think in 42 he went in the Army. In the Navy, rather. I don't know. I didn't finish school. It was such a burden, my sister was sick, and I had taken care of her, and she had a child, and so I just didn't. I went to the 10th grade.
Was always you were taking care of people. I think your whole life has been devoted to taking care of others.
My whole life I've been taking care of people, yeah.
If I know a caregiver, you're one of them. That's taking care of the whole community.
Yeah, I have
in many ways.
I
I know at one time you used to select prisoners in Orange County and bring them to your business and teach them.
Yeah.
And you're not doing that anymore.
No, I think they cut the program out because they start to move from one camp to the other so often, so you really couldn't do anything with them, And I trained them. I took them in, and at that time they had a program called, that I don't know what they didn't really name the program, but what they did, they would pay half of the salary for the inmates so that they could be back in society with a job. And they can come back in society with a job. And I think 4 of them is working, and I know they're working that I trained to cook.
So you really trained them in an area that they could get jobs. Did you select them also?
No, I didn't select them. They selected them because what happened, they knew who probably could make it through this or could go by the rules and regulations, whatever. Because when you have them there, they can't leave your building. They can't go all over the town. They have to stay there until
Well, that was a wonderful thing you did. I'm sure it helped a number of people and continue in their lives as they have a career.
Yeah.
How did you come about developing the restaurant? I understand you came to Chapel Hill and began to work in the hospital.
Yeah. You know what? I went to work at the hospital. I was working for my in-laws, and me and my husband were separated, and so what happened, I got a job. I went to the hospital because I felt like I was the one that needed to leave, from up there. And so I went to the hospital and I got the job, and it was just for 2 years. The man was there. He had to go into the Army, and he had some kind of program was 2 years that he had to be gone. And so I worked 2 years in a Central Stir Supply. And when about time that my time was up, I was just walking down the street when Mr. Tate, told me to take over the restaurant there. Mr. Tuck was going out of business, and I just thought, what in the world is he talking about, And he knew I could cook because I had made pies and cooked things at home, and then my husband had a business that he went on jobs, just like Coca-Cola people go on jobs and he went on jobs and took out like little pies and sandwiches and sold them on the job. And so I didn't give him much of an answer then, because I said, I know I can't do anything. So he just come right back on me the next day. And so I said, yeah, I'll take it. And so he gave me a proposition. He said, what you do, you just take it and I go in there, and when you get enough money to pay the rent, you pay me, you know. And so that's what I done. I went in there. Me and the children went in there and we cleaned it up. And next morning, we got home about 2 o'clock.
In the evening, night.
Yeah, the next morning, And so, the filers was down at end, and they opened up at 7 o'clock. So I got up and come back to filers that morning, and went in there and got some bacon and some eggs. Actually, I got it for our breakfast. I did not get it to serve nobody because we got through cleaning up. But what we didn't do, we didn't put the chairs back down and put the tables in place and things like that. And so that's what I was doing when somebody hollered in the door and asked me, was you open? Are you open? You know? And I said, yes, come on in, you know. And that's how I got started. That just like that. Nothing else to it. You can't add nothing to it and take away from it. So I did by the time Norma come on up there, by the time Lane and Gary and them got it there, a dozen eggs didn't only last but like 6 people,
right.
You know. Yeah. And so they got to start running to the store get more bacon and more eggs. And I bought the little old thing of grits. I guess a little box of grits was about that high, and about this enough for us, you know. And I just cooked I cooked all the morning there, and then they started. I said, maybe y'all better go get some chicken, you know, because I know that was what they lacked when I was working at Bill's Barbecue. I started working at Bill's Barbecue in 1957, and that was one of the most things that we sold there was our fried chicken, you know. And so I got chicken. I started frying chicken. We got to go back and get a chicken, start frying chicken. And so we just went on, and that was the meal that we had all day. We had chicken and pork chops, And I think probably now that's the 2 major things that Mama did, you know, and something. You know, then I started cooking other things after that. Yeah.
So your first day, you were successful.
Yes, yeah.
Served meals all day.
Yeah, all day. Made $135 profit, you know, that day.
That was when? What year?
1976.
1976.
Yeah, it's been 26 years ago. Yeah.
And I bet you never in your wildest dreams saw what would happen to you.
No. I never thought about it because, you know, I always liked to cook and I never really thought about it. You know, I just kept right on. And so somebody working, so I don't know whether it was Mr. Gitters or who, probably was Mr. Gitters. He wrote a little article about it in the Chapel Hill News, you know. And it just flourished. After about 3 or 4 weeks, it had just come to my 18 seats. I couldn't, you know, they had to stand in line. People beginning to get mad, you know, because I can't get in here, you know. And cooking the same thing I have now, you know. But, and so I moved it around. My dad always told us, says, you know, people wear the arm of the chair out back, you know, when people had a chair, they wear the arm out the chair. And so he always told us, says, you take it to chair, whatever what it is, said, you don't want if it break, said, move it over near the door. And that's what I started doing. I started moving things near the door so I could run out and I get some extra money. I run out and get a little piece to go there in the place of that. So we got up to seats after I moved things around and took out some of the things that he had. And then I got up to 36 seats, and I was from 36 seats to from probably 1978 until 84. And 84 is when the guy moved out next door, had the furniture shop, and then I took that over. That made me have like 90 seats. Yeah.
And you moved what, 5 years ago to your new place now?
Yeah, it's 4 years. It'll be 4 years in February. Yeah.
And you have how many seats there?
We have about 150.
Because I thought it's well over 100.
Yeah, yeah.
And you built that, right?
Yes.
That was a new building.
That's right. That's a new building.
Designed the way you wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, because it reminded me of the porch. And the porch, I always thought about the porch. You know, the porch that we have there is just like the porch we had on the house in Chatham. You know, where we raised up at, and you know when. I think 1938 or 39. I can't remember exactly. I know that I was cooking, but Papa hadn't asked me to cook. But President Roosevelt had this. He had this WPA and the food program, and so one day we heard this truck coming up. At that time, you could hear a truck like a long way off, come up, tat 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 tat, and so the truck come up. It was just loaded with food, and so they put all that on one end of the house, on one end of that porch there, like on that little end of mine. They put it up there, and he put all this peanut butter and meal and flour. And had some canned meat and cheese and Karo syrup, and the worst thing it was cod liver oil, because we was at that day we was eating cod liver.
You got that in the morning when you were growing up, didn't you?
Yeah.
My mother gave it to me too. I still remember. I still like orange juice to this day because of it.
So we just made everything. We just really cooked it. We just made everything. That's a lot of in the cookbook that say, it's made from, how we fixed that food. And it was really edible, what we made from it,
Well, now you have 2 cookbooks, right? One is out and another one's coming out.
Oh, no, yes, yeah.
And tell us a little bit about your cookbooks.
Well, I hadn't thought about a cookbook because what happened is I call myself a dump cook.
And what does that mean? Tell us what that means.
Dump cook is you don't measure, because in the country you go out and you pick a bucket of this and you pick up apples, whatever what it is, and you just cook what you pick. There's no weighing and no measuring, and so and then when you get to the salt and pepper and whatever you use, they bought it in big bags. And then when they empty the lard can, they would empty that salt in the lard can, and you would have a little clay jars, milk jars, and you set it up on the table beside the stove, and you just reach in there and you just get some and sprinkle it in there, and then you taste. Dump cooking is about taste too. You have to taste it, and so yeah, even I don't remember. For a long time having that, because when we cooked the cake, one of the most delicate things that you had to cook is that at the marriage we used the coffee spoon, the spoon set in the cradle on the table. You never took when you wash dishes and you put the forks in the drawer, but you always put the spoons back on the table in this little jar you had down there, and the American cup was just a cup you drink coffee out of, so it was you learn to put it in here and just measure it that way. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the great joys and one of the things that I admire about you so much is that you took what you had and made it work.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's marvelous. I think that's very creative.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Now, your first book is by the University Press.
Yes,
And I've heard a story that when you did it, they came and watched you as they developed the cookbook because you weren't sure how much you put in things.
It was kind of hard. It was kind of hard because, for I would say 30 years or more, we can take the rat skillet where my brother worked. They had the best lasagna, and I think they said they still got the best lasagna in here, and then they had the baked potato, and then they had the steaks and the spaghetti and the cheesecake and this kind of thing. But what happened was it wasn't nothing country there, like greens and like turnip greens and cabbage, and pinto beans, these kind of things, So I think People's was kind of when I opened Mama Deb's, I think People's had got kind of thirsty once they one or two people come in and say, "Oh, this right here, my grandma cooked this, and I remember when my grandma made this right here," and so they spreaded the news about it.
And I know that you do a lot of university students work with you a lot,
yes,
along with your family.
Yeah.
And your daughters have started restaurants.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
Yeah, Bond started her restaurant, and Norma, my oldest daughter took Bill's Barbecue over, after Mr. Bill and Mr. Mary passed on, and she worked there for, she ran it for about 4 or 5 years, but it was a lot of commitment for her. It's different than children. They're born open hers, and she's a little stronger, about doing things, Because some people like to work from 9 to 5 and that's it. But when you run a restaurant, you can't hardly do that until you get it really established, and train people the way you want them to do.
And she's in Carborough,
She's
the
in
plantation.
Carborough. Yes, on Plantation Plaza.
Right, and the other daughter isn't one of them in your old restaurant?
No, Spring has, she makes cake. Spring is the little,
Catering?
yeah, she likes that dainty kind of stuff, make the little sandwiches like y'all have out there, and make cakes, and that's what.
And so she does catering. It's not a restaurant as such.
No, that's right. It's not a restaurant.
And if they want to contact her, they go there to contact her or find her in the book.
And she works at Dips part time too. They mostly contact her at Dips now.
Now I understand you also do Meals on Wheels sometimes. Do the meals for shut-ins and that
Well,
sort of thing.
I was the first to do Meals on Wheels. The social service asked me to do it. I mean, many years ago. I guess it was in the late '60s, early '70s. It was a lot of sick people, and it wasn't no other restaurants around hardly that would take it on. So I took it on from Bill's Barbecue, and I would take meals to the people that's when I was sick. And then then I carried it on to Mama Dips, and it got pretty big, And then the church took it over. It wasn't coming from the social service area, but the Brinkley Baptist Church took it over.
It's up at Binkley.
Yeah, and then they took over to, they went on a Widemore spread, and they got the Coca-Cola Classic.
It makes such a difference for so many people. It really is marvelous. I also want people to know that you serve on the Orange County Advisory Board, which really deals with aging issues in Orange County. And you serve there as a very able member and a strong advocate for elders in this county. And I remember when you came on the board, I was talking with you one day and you were saying to me, well, you're not doing enough for the people up in northern Orange County, up above Hillsborough and so forth, and we need to do more. And I challenged you to come on the board, and you did. And you just are marvelous because you bring attention to issues that sometimes many of us may not know are there.
It's true, because when you get around, I learn a lot about upper Orange County is to going around. I used to go everywhere and get vegetables, buy vegetables for the farmers, and I go all up in there and buy vegetables, and and looking at what's there, no inside, no water inside, and these kind of things like that. And so, I said, I'm hoping that sometime that they would get something going on up there.
And we've done that, thanks to you and other people. And I want to say what great fun it's been to sit and talk with you.
Thank you.
And for all you do for so many people.
Thank you.
In Orange County and the whole country.
Thank you.
You're a treasure for us.
Thank you.
There's a myth going round town that when you get older you just sit down and start rocking. Just rocking. In a way that's true, if you know what I mean. Just take a look at the senior scene. Well, it's rocking. Yeah, it's rocking. We're pulling our weight, learning the code, clicking our heels, sharing the load, and every so often we're hitting the road. Yeah, we're rocking.